welcome again to another episode of Indie Reads TV, brought to you by Pages Promotions. We're in the glorious studio at CNM TV, which we just love. These people in Troy, they support indie authors so wonderfully here, and we just want to thank them for all of their support of our show. Today in studio, we have the super creative, super wonderful Jordan Scavone. He is a children's author, wrestler, and all-around nifty guy. We'll be talking about all these great things today, but primarily we're going to be focusing on his writing, his children's books, and we're going to be talking about some new projects he has coming up as well. So, Jordan,
hi.
Thanks for being here.
Yeah, absolutely.
I
I'm
really
excited.
appreciate it. It's
yeah,
very exciting to have you here.
I'm super excited. I'm a little jealous that my schedule did not match up so that I could get in here before dawn and be the first person, but, you know.
Sorry about that.
It's not your fault. It's my schedule's fault.
Schedule conflicts. So that you can feel a little bit better about it, I've been doing this now. You're the 12th episode.
Yeah.
So I'm a little bit more comfortable with the technology, so there won't be as many glitches. That's good at least.
You know, I remember Don's episode had a glitch right off the bat.
Yeah, that's because I was, brand new to the technology, and there's a learning curve with everything, right? So I want to talk first about these amazing books you've written. I am so impressed with your writing. I don't know many children's authors who take the time and the compassion to talk about the issues that you do with your books. So I really want to talk about these. The first one, I'm madly in love with this book. This is
that's me.
That is you. It'll come
that's
up.
Me. Look at that was 4 years old in that other picture, by the way. If anyone's curious, that's my preschool picture.
Wow. The red hair just never goes away.
No,
does it?
but it used to be straight. It's not anymore.
So there it is. A Girl Named Adam. I love this book. I felt so honored that you allowed me to read in an advance copy when it first was released, and I was just thrilled with it. It's such a great book.
It's so much better than I expected it to be. I can actually say that about all three of them. They're so much better than I expected them to be, mostly because I hate everything I write.
Really?
I do. I don't like any of it. Each time I read it, whether I read it in my classroom or if I read it at book events or whatever, every time I read it, I'm like, I should have done this. I should have done this. I should really re-release a new edition and change things. And I need to get out of that mindset. And I've been slowly working my way to getting out of that mindset.
The nice thing about it is once it's done, it's done.
Yeah.
And you have to train yourself that although we have the power to do a re-release, don't. Just move on to the next project.
Yes. And that's, I've been getting a lot better at accepting the fact that maybe I actually have some talent when it comes to writing.
I think you kind of do. So let's go back to A Girl Named Adam. Without spoiling it for our readers who haven't read it yet, can you give us a brief understanding of the story and then give us the why behind writing this book?
Yes. A Girl Named Adam, or as it's organically come to be known on social media as AGNA.
Okay.
Because that's just it's a long title.
Sure.
It is about two fourth grade best friends named Adam and Annie, who you see Adam on the cover. Mm-hmm. And they're best friends. They've been friends forever and a day. And after Adam starts wearing dresses and changes his name to Addie, their friendship gets put to this challenge test conflict thing. And it's a transgender text.
Now, we have to understand, these are young children. These are like first grade, second grade?
Fourth graders.
Fourth graders.
Okay. So research now suggests that by 3, kids start to understand how they identify.
Okay.
And whether that's they're identifying as their birth gender or how they internally feel. So by 4th grade, it's actually pretty accepted that you can have different. You can start to identify differently as an adult would. What's actually really cool. I have book with me. On the back, I have a 4-year-old who's gender nonconforming. Did a review.
Oh,
and
great.
so did their mom.
Awesome.
Which is super cool. And they they're on my Facebook page, on my author page, and the mom reached out to me and she's like, I'm really excited about this book. I want to know when it comes out, and she told me about her child, and I was like, well, I would love for you to do back cover blurbs. So they got advanced PDF copies to do that.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. What I loved best about this book is that it's so beautifully inclusive, right? This book doesn't just talk about the issue or the challenges in gender identification. This book includes everybody. This has a little bit of, I think one of the teachers is a more elderly person.
Yeah, so...
this has mixed race children in it. This is a book that really everyone can identify with. And I love how you incorporate so many different points of view into your writing.
So some of the cool background things within the book, every character in the background... one of them is Mighty. One is Emma from my first book, and one is Georgia from Mud Princess. But the rest of the characters are all actually kids from my classroom.
So let's clarify. You teach preschool kids, right?
Toddlers.
Yeah.
So they're all aged up to 4th grade, which some of their parents were a little, oh God, they're not supposed to be that big yet, which was super, super cute to see. And then unintentionally, I realized it after I had described her. The teacher is very similar to what my 2nd grade teacher looked like.
Okay.
From what I remember, it's been
a long time.
Yeah. A bit of time. But she was older. I think she was mixed race. I'm not 100%. I don't remember. It's been so long.
Sure.
But I distinctly remember that she looked different than a lot of the other teachers at the time. I had a lot of younger teachers. All were basically white. But she stood out in my memory as being just different looking, and I always thought that. Even at that age, I was like, there's something different about her, and I liked that.
The other thing I like about this book is that one of the characters in this story is the stereotypical bully, except you don't write him stereotypically. He's different than bullies that I normally read about in children's books.
Yeah, he's actually so... What's actually really interesting is that his name is my childhood bully. His appearance is based off my illustrator's childhood bully.
Okay.
And there's no direct physical contact between Addie and the bully. Instead, it's all clothing based. So
Right.
There's a hair bow, which is a really big theme throughout the story. If the cover comes back up, you can see she's wearing it in the reflection shot.
Yeah.
And the hair bow is a big thing that, her friend gave it to her, and then the bully rips it off, and then it becomes a thing. So there's no... Even in children's books and children's media, usually when there's a bully, there is some form. It's shoving, pushing, hitting.
Right, and that's what I noticed about this book is that there isn't any of that.
It's all verbal.
It's more verbal and more emotional intimidation than it is physical bullying, which I think is an important thing that you bring to light here to make sure that people understand that there are different types of bullying and bullying is not just what our fathers and grandfathers told us bullying was. Bullying has taken on new facets in our changing society.
Yeah,
now.
and it's actually a really nice transition into Mud Princess, because Mud Princess is ultimately my unintentional anti-bullying book.
Let's see if I can find it. Oh, not that one.
There
it
she
is.
Oh, you turned 1 really soon. Your release date is next week. The release next week a year ago.
So tell us about Mud Princess. What's this story?
So Mud Princess is about Georgia, who is a mud princess, and after all the other princesses who've been making fun of her for being covered in mud get captured by a dragon, she has to choose if she wants to help them or not. So the core premise is that Georgia loves mud. Georgia loves being a mud princess, and she actually accepts that title from the other princesses. So they call her the Mud Princess, and in Georgia's mind, she's like, yeah, I am. That's what I want to be. I love mud. And she gets invited to a birthday party for the adored princess, Princess Priscilla, who we actually never see. She's not in
Okay.
the book at all.
Okay.
And it's a trap. The dragon wrote the letter, and he is the one who is actually orchestrating the party. And before he shows up to capture all the other princesses kick her out of the party because she's covered in mud.
Okay.
So, in their arrogance and their rudeness and their bullying, she escapes from danger and has to decide if she wants to go back and help the ones who have been cruel to her forever and a day.
So it's really a nice tie-in to the idea of forgive and move on.
Yeah, exactly. And I think you don't need to do that when it comes to your bullies, your abusers, whatever.
I don't think you need to, but
You
it
don't
is
need
a
to.
nice way to handle it.
Yeah, and especially I think with this type of bully, this verbal, your clothes aren't as nice as my clothes. That's the kind of bullying that you can interpersonally recover from and accept those people back into your life because, maybe they were young, maybe you were young, whatever. So there's certain aspects of bullying in the extreme scale and in the minor scale that you need to find a middle ground for when it comes to, maybe those people could come back into my life. Maybe it was an age thing. Maybe it was a societal pressure thing versus maybe they're just a horrible person kind of thing.
Well, and I think Mud Princess also shows us that it's not necessarily our fault that people are bullying us.
Yeah.
I think that's a really important message here is that kids who bully on the playground aren't necessarily bullying because the object of their disdain is an evil, cruel person. Maybe they've got their own stuff going on that they need to deal with. And I think that that's a really important thing that you illustrate in this book.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that one.
Oh, that's
Mighty.
that's my baby.
Tell us about this book.
The general pitch is it's about a 4-year-old girl with social anxiety starting school. And in order to overcome her fear of going to school, she becomes a superhero. That is my you walk up and talk to me, ask me about it pitch. There it is.
Okay.
This book was written as a project in grad school.
Wow.
I had the option in my multicultural diverse class. Yes, my grad school one to do. I could either write an end of the semester essay, or I can do some type of creative project. And I chose to do that, and I wrote it. I horribly illustrated it. Those illustrations are somewhere on my computer, not coming out to play. And I got to present it to my class, and that was cool because it was my first year of grad school. It was my first class of grad school. And the, at the time, head of the department was my professor. And afterwards, she was like, this is really good, the story-wise, not the art.
Right.
And she was like, I would seriously consider, potentially moving forward with it because she knew that was something that I was interested in. I didn't go to grad school for academia,
Right.
whereas a lot of grad school students in the literature program will go for academia.
Of course, sure.
I went to just absorb as much as I could about structure of picture books specifically, which is something that plays into all of my books. Is I learned so much in my illustrated text courses, from picture books all the way up to things like Hugo. We read those in my illustrated text course, which was super fun. So I continued with it, and I told my professor that I was shopping it around, and I got an illustrator, and I was getting it done, and I actually got to present at our grad school conference on it as well.
That's awesome.
So that was super fun.
In these books, you write about some pretty heady subjects. I mean, I think it takes a lot of courage for an author to write about these topics, not just to write about them, but to write about them for children.
Yeah.
You're really stepping over a boundary that's been invisibly drawn for a long time. So, two-part question, how do you get the courage to do that? And then is there a is there a subplot device that you're working in as well? I mean, not from a literary standpoint, but is there something else you want to achieve by way of making these books?
As far as the first one, I just do it. I don't, because so I work with toddlers.
Mm-hmm.
I read so many picture books where either like the core concept, that the initial, seed plot before it expands, I'm like, oh, that's so great. Why didn't you do it? Like, why didn't you go all the way?
Sure.
Type thing. Because kids can handle it. They're not dumb.
Right.
And there's this concept outside of early childhood and outside of studying children's literature that kids are unintelligent because they don't know everything. And they're not. They get each book.
Right.
I mean, A Girl Named Adam is about transgender identity, and kids get it better than adults do.
Oh, yeah, I would believe that.
And
they have fewer roadblocks.
Yes, exactly. And then that's what I want to, I want to show them that, maybe they obviously don't probably realize it as children, but, if you go back and read this as an adult when you were a kid, and you go, oh, wow, that is nothing like the other books that I read and things like that. And it comes from really enjoying classic works of children's lit picture books. I don't think any of Maurice Sendek's books would get published today.
That's a good point.
I think if you looked at any of his books, maybe not Where the Wild Things Are, it's a little bit shorter.
Yes.
I don't think any publisher would look twice at any of those books. Those books are 1,500 words plus.
Yes.
These books are all under 1,000 words, and every single one of them were denied from bigger publishers because of length.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I find that remarkable.
Mm-hmm.
The larger publishers want shorter work.
Mm-hmm.
Is that because they have this impression that children can't handle it?
I don't think so. I think it's because they don't think parents will think that their kids will sit through long books.
Ah, so it's a misperception of parents and teachers rather than the publishing industry pushing this misperception?
I think so.
Okay.
I don't think publishing agencies that in the past had published longer, more intense children's books all of a sudden decided that kids couldn't handle it. I think it was with the advent, and as much as I love television, I love video games, I love them all, with the advent of our rapid fire, parents don't think that kids can handle longer texts, whereas I can sit down and read all three of these books back to back with a group of toddlers.
Right.
And take a half hour, and they'll just sit there and listen to it.
Of course they will, yeah, because they're engaging stories. And the art is spectacular. You have some fabulous illustrators.
My illustrators are... I'm so envious of anyone who can draw. And it's one of those things that I can't. I'm horribly colorblind.
Okay.
Like, just to do any type of digital art, to do the colors, I have to go find things that I think are the color that I want, and eyedropper the colors.
Okay.
And it takes so much time to do anything like that.
Yeah.
Caitlin did Mighty. She's absolutely incredible. She's the tiniest, cutest little boy now, too. Dante. He's adorable. I love seeing pictures of Dante. Monica did Mud Princess. What's really cool about how I've lucked into my illustrators. Caitlin and I got paired through a very small press that Mighty originally came out through.
Okay.
So there's 1,000 hardcover copies of Mighty floating around. If you find one, buy it because they don't get made anymore. Someone actually just did from the Brighton store, the Brighton Barnes and Noble. Okay. They had one left.
Okay.
So we got paired through that small press that I went through. I met Monica on Instagram because she does art and I do books, so we just kind of our pages crossed over, and
Sure.
I was liking her stuff, she was liking my stuff. She did fan art of Mighty.
Okay.
I approached her when Mud Princess came out to do Mud Princess, and she really wanted to do it. She had been signed on to do other books with indie authors, and she had finished the art, and then the book just never happened.
Okay.
So I think having another book out made her to go, oh, this book's actually going to happen.
Sure.
My illustrator for A Girl Named Adam did fan art of both girls together, which I actually give away as coloring pages at book events because it's super cute.
Okay.
So I joke that in order to do picture books for me, you need to do fan art of one of the previous books.
Because that's how you find
So
them.
that's a thing. That's a thing. If you want to illustrate one of my next books, do fan art. Or just do fan art in general, because it's great and it makes me happy.
So let's step out of the books for a second. I know you have a children's turtle book that we were talking about a little bit earlier that might be coming out soon.
It doesn't exist, but it does at the same time.
You have a young adult book that you've been working on
For too long.
and now there's this other part of your life, this wrestling thing. We have a few minutes. I'd like to know a little bit about this.
Okay.
How you got involved and what keeps you coming back to it.
So
And is it real painful, awful, terrible, like head screaming wrestling, or is it we're having fun doing theater wrestling?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's not. There's different levels of professional wrestling. There's your like backyard wrestling, which is like, what you make a ring out of like stuff you found at the dump, and you go and hit each other in the face as hard as you can. And
Okay.
there's no professionalism in this form of professional wrestling, basically. And then there's independent wrestling, which there's indie baseball, there's independent. Every other sport has a form of independency.
Right.
And it counts as almost like developmental. You start there to hone your craft, and then you move on up to what you see on, the USA Network on Monday nights. So we're in the middle. And I've been with this promotion. It's the Michigan Wrestling Organization. It's based out of Flint. I've been there for 2 years, and I'm a bad guy there.
Really?
Yeah, I'm destroying the business. Shh. It's a thing. I get to be a bad guy, and it's awesome because I don't ever get to be a bad guy anymore. I was a bad guy when I did high school theater.
Okay.
High school theater and speech, I got typecast as a villain halfway through my freshman year, and it just stuck. And I do a little bit of independent voice acting, and it just hits. I don't know. I get to be bad. When I get to be bad, I think I just really get to get into it because I work with toddlers.
That's a completely different
yeah,
thing.
so I think I hold in. Every time a toddler says no, I think I'm like, save that for wrestling.
Yeah. So this new venture you're doing, a turtle a day.
Yeah,
This is so exciting. This turtle thing is so exciting.
I almost wore that too.
We've got about 5 minutes.
Cool.
So tell us a little bit about this turtle thing that you're doing.
So I started a Facebook blog page called Turtle a Day, and the whole intent behind it was that I like to look at turtles.
Okay.
Because who doesn't? I guess they're cute. And so my idea was I'm going to make a Facebook page. I already know how to do it because I have an author page and all this other stuff. And I'm going to post a picture of a turtle every day. And I was like, well, I like to see more than one, so I usually do between 3 and 6, give or take. And I shared a picture of a turtle, two turtles. It's a guy, and then sitting in front of him is a juvenile alligator snapping turtle, which are the coolest snapping turtles because they look like Bowser from Mario.
I love their long noses.
Yeah. And then beneath him is a 80 to 100-year-old behemoth alligator snapping turtle. That is, I've now learned, is like close to 140 pounds. And he looks like if you put your hand in front of him, it would just vaporize it. And I don't know if the timing was right or if the right people shared it, but it's at like over 2 million views on this post, which is absurd to me in terms of quality.
But that's pretty exciting. That's something that you're doing simply out of a love of this animal, and you're expanding the reach of these animals. And I've noticed with the postings as well, you're being educational about it too. You're telling us stuff about these turtles.
Yeah, because of course I am. That's just what I do.
Right. But I think it's really cool that this, completely aside from your married life and completely aside from the books and the wrestling, and there's these turtles.
Yeah.
I just think it's fabulous.
So I'm supposed to be writing a young adult novel. I'm 67,000 words into it. It's got about 5 to 7 left. Mm-hmm. I could probably do 5 to 7,000 words on a good weekend. Haven't touched it since December.
Because you've been playing with turtles.
Well, no, that's new, kind of. So I sat down the other day a couple weeks ago to All right, I'm like, I'm going to do 1,000 words of this book. And if I don't, I'm going to be mad, and I'm going to do it the next day. So I wrote about 3 words, opened up a new Word document, and knocked out an entire picture book manuscript.
About turtles.
About sea turtles.
Yeah.
Because in my classroom, so a lot of my books end up following what I'm experiencing in my daily life. In my classroom, we started a long-term project where we adopted a sea turtle, and it's live satellite tracked through the Sea Turtle Conservancy out of Florida.
That's
So
really
we have a
cool.
map printed up. We have a picture of her. Her name is, we have 2. We have Lilac and Ollivander.
Okay.
And we have like pictures of what they eat. And we have this map. And every day we sing our song about who's here today. We say hello to Ollivander and Lilac. And then we pull out the tablet and we check our satellites and we draw on our map where she is.
That's
and
fun.
We've been doing it. This is our 1 month. Today recording this is our 1 month of doing that, and it's the recall on the toddlers to like they now know by image like what Ollivander eats. They know she's in Florida or off the coast of Florida, and every day if we forget to check on her, one of them will come tell us to remind us to do it.
That's fantastic.
And these are 2-year-olds, and they're obsessed with her now. I have a Turtle a Day logo T-shirt. It's similar to this. You can get it via the Facebook page. And one of my toddlers walked up to me and goes, "You're wearing Ollivander on your shirt," and I go, "I am, kind of." This is a green sea turtle, and Ollivander is a loggerhead. But yeah,
they're definitely getting an understanding, and I love that you're doing this with the kids because it's teaching them conservatorship of our planet. It's teaching them about wildlife. It's teaching them about how animals change from day to day.
Yeah.
We are not the only ones who change. There are a whole bunch of other creatures on the planet that change day to day. So I think that's spectacular.
And I work in Ann Arbor, so all the parents are like, "Nature, yeah."
Yeah,
So they all love it.
absolutely. Yeah, parents love nature. So,
Yes.
I am so excited that you've been with us here today. This has been so much fun for me.
I had a lot of good fun. This is my 4th TV.
This is so much fun.
Yeah.
I'm so excited for the next book, whether it be the young adult or the turtle book. I just love reading your words.
There's a mid-grade book in there somewhere, too.
Great. Okay, so
Sorry, a mid-grade series.
So
We'll get to that one other day.
I just really want to thank you for being here with us today.
Absolutely.
I really appreciate you coming in, taking the time out of your crazy busy schedule, driving all the way from Ann Arbor, and
There's only
I'm
like
overjoyed.
2 lanes open on the freeway the whole way here. It only took an hour and a half.
So thank you very much for coming in, and have a safe travel home.
Yes.